Welcome back. My name is Cara and this is The Soft Life, or The Soft Life Way. And if you're new here, welcome. My puppy might join us. There he is. On this channel, what I talk about is how to move abroad. And today in this episode, what we're going to talk about is how to move abroad for a game plan of 3 to 5 years. So, and where we're going to move to soft life places, cities and countries. I specialize in certain regions. So here we go. So if you have never had any experience with my channel, I'm so glad that you're here, and maybe you're just popping on to out of curiosity because you're not really planning on moving abroad, but you're like, what's this about? Or maybe you keep hearing people who have moved abroad, or maybe you even have already researched places like where can you move abroad. So what we're going to focus on today is simply having a bit of a mindset around a 3 to 5 year plan. So don't mind me, I have my just a little snack and some water. I always like to talk about food. So let's look at what I have today. I have a couple fresh pears, this cream on top. This is called Kaimak. It's a very thick creamy butter. And then it has drizzled village honey, some olives, and some hard-boiled eggs. And this is very typical fare. This is going to be my first meal of the day. And everything literally is off the truck, from the farm, from the village, that I usually buy in our village market. We have village markets every single week, multiple times a week. And that is one of the best things about living abroad. So speaking of eating, if you want to think about a 3 to 5 year game plan, if you're living in, let's say, the United States, if you're living in Canada or even Western Europe, you might notice that you're paying a lot of money for things like rent and food, and just simple costs of living are going up. That's really noticeable kind of across the board. A lot of people are noticing that. But when you're paying that much money, it's kind of like, if you pay a lot of money for a luxury brand, well, you kind of have an idea that you're paying for a label, right? It could be a bag, it could be a car, it could be shoes. So along with that expense comes maybe a reputation or a legacy that says this is the best, so this is why we're charging that much. And also there's a little philosophy behind why people charge what they charge when you have a brand, is because you're catering to a certain clientele, a certain economic group, or people who want to aspire to be in a higher economic group. Okay, all fine and dandy. So that usually means you're getting a really high quality product or service. And that's pretty typical, anywhere you go in the world. You're gonna pay more for something that is better quality, handmade, is authentic, is unique, is maybe a one of a kind, and simply is a higher quality product or service. So when we're talking about my home country, for example, the United States, there was a time when things were amazing and it was the best quality, or one of the best qualities, and the lifestyle, what you could actually manage to buy and have, the lifestyle. You could buy a house, car. Many families, of course, had just a one family income, and you just ate normal food, and you had normal transportation. Not everybody had a car. Of course, we had our cities and our villages in my home country, but eventually, of course, around 100 years ago, cars became the thing, and then eventually highways and car companies grew, and highways grew, and suburbia grew, and people became more spread out. So, walkability or biking wasn't really a thing as much anymore. So what happens though is, my country, we've been kind of conditioned to think that spread was a good thing and there's no problem with it. So I'm sure at the time when it was spreading, when suburbia was kind of expanding and these new like living developments and residents and neighborhoods were further out. They were maybe more, I don't know, gated or unique or something that you just, aspired to. And of course you needed a car, or maybe you needed multiple cars to get to and fro, especially if you worked somewhere else. So my point is that we've really, in my country, been conditioned to think like, this is great. Oh, my house is all the way out here and I have all this land and I have this property and, my kids go to this school, and then like, oh, there's grocery stores over here so you can get to things you need. And now we have 2 cars or 3 cars depending, and, and it's like more and more and more and more. But what we're doing is we're getting less away from where our food comes from, like the village, when farmers know to come to like the downtown or the city square or whatever to bring the fresh food. We're not walking, we're not biking, because we can't, it's just too far. And the living spaces are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that means people end up filling them with more and more and more stuff. And here we have the land of basically not just consumerism, but excess consumerism. And so that's just something I want you to kind of, hold up the mirror and go, am I a part of that? Like, is this something that I've chosen, I've actively chosen? Okay. And you might find that, it was there as an expression, keeping up with the Joneses. You might have kept up with the Joneses, and now you look around and go, I am working so many hours to have this high salary, to be able to afford all this stuff, and I'm not walking, and I don't know my neighbors, and I don't know where my food comes from, and I'm exhausted, and I'm continuing, like, I don't see an end. Like, it's like a hamster wheel. Like, where are we going? So that's why I want you to consider. I am talking to the single females, I'm talking to the couples, and I'm even talking to the families with kiddos. That is where, all these amazing, incredible opportunities to not just homeschool, but world school. So if you can think about the next 3 to 5 years, getting yourself together, that's where my expertise comes in. I've lived abroad for over 10 years. I've gotten multiple visas and I work online, and this is basically a no-brainer in 2025. Like, anybody can do this. It's true. But you have to make some choices. That's what it really comes down to. And your choice, for me, my choice was, this was normal to me. I just wanted to get village fresh, or we call it farmers market, but farmers market, village market, whatever, fresh food. I just wanted that to be accessible everywhere, every day. And I didn't want to be going to a specialized store that has organic, special food that I pay so much more to just get the like freshest version or the most natural version. And it still has to have some kind of preservation of preservatives, because there's so much travel. Even though like the really nice grocery stores in my home country, America, I don't need to name names, none of that came from that area. It all had to be brought in. So it's still not the freshest version, even if it's organic. So you have to make some choices. Like, what are your non-negotiables? What are the most important things? And then if you think about, if you got together the next 6 months, tops 12 months, because you can do it, I promise you, I can help you. The next 6 to 12 months, you followed my system, and I have a system, it is a proven system. You followed the system, and you went and you came to one of what I call the soft countries, the soft life. And there are specific regions that I really focus on. I happen to be right now in the geographical location of Asia Minor Anatolia. Ancient Anatolia is what it's been called for thousands of years. Modern day Turkey. So I'm in the country of Turkey. And Turkey is an amazing place because it's straddled between, of course, like, Europe and the furthest western part of Asia, and the Levant and the Caucasus. So this whole region is what I specialize in. So to the west of Asia Minor Turkey and to the east of Asia Minor Turkey. And primarily, you also have the Black Sea, which is just north of Turkey, and you have the Caucasus, Caucasus, that's not how you say it, region, those countries. So these are the countries that still have a softer pace, a slower pace, a softer way to create your lifestyle, that still eat fresh food, that still have walkable cities, that have places where you can get genuine care for your health, meaning culturally it's just normal to go to, here we go to Turkish hammams, those are spas, to do hydrotherapy, heat therapy. Heat water has such a healing effect on our body, hot and cold water. I know there's a lot of trends out there, but this is like an ancient practice of simply like soaking in hot water and then cool, and hot water and then cool. Of course, different kinds of massages that help to calm the muscles in the nervous system and elongate the muscles, relaxation. There's simply a different way of being over here that's just normal. It's not considered some kind of, only that's what you do if you're treating yourself to something luxurious, or only wealthy people do that. Now, obviously there are price points for everything, and there are gonna be higher, more expensive places for certain things. So taking that all into consideration, but still it's simply part of the culture here, and it's very accessible. So when you think about your life and think about moving here, single, meeting fellow other travelers and locals. I have an amazing network of girlfriends, and also there are so many foreigner/expat groups that you can find and become a part of and meet other foreigners, and meeting the locals and connecting with locals. If your first mother tongue language is English, don't worry about it. It's fine. That is great. Many people, especially younger people, speak English, so you're not really going to run into any issues. You might need to have a little bit of assistance, like if you're reading certain kinds of documents in the native language. But the bottom line is that it's going to be a good thing for you to try to learn some basic words and phrases in whichever country, because that shows that you're trying to assimilate. You're a guest in a country, and it's also, there's a richness that if you don't try to assimilate and you don't try to learn as much as you can of the language, you don't have to be a linguist. You don't have to even have like proper grammar. It can be very broken because the locals appreciate that. But you're gonna feel a deeper connection to the place, and you're gonna feel like a bit more at home, and also you're not gonna miss certain opportunities and experiences when you don't understand the language. More on that in another video for sure for me. So if you were here for 3 years, you had a home, or maybe you chose like one home country or city, and maybe you ended up choosing to move halfway through and experience a whole new city and a whole new country. That's a possibility, because all the countries that I focus on in the regions allow for different kinds of visas, short term and then longer term. There's different ways to get different visas and to actually create a life, so you can plant yourself somewhere and plant and to sprout and grow and build a life. So if you were to have fresh food, what would that do to your tummy? Do you have any like digestive issues? Do you have any gut problems, IBS, leaky gut, anxiety of course is in the gut? Do you have any kind of weight issues? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to just become a healthier, better version of yourself? So I'm talking to the ladies. Also, are you over boss babe culture? Are you just like, this is not my thing? I want to be softer. I want to be more feminine and be appreciated for that. That's where you want to come to the softer life. Come over here, because femininity and masculinity are still just normal and still just celebrated. So you can also, if you have any kind of debt, you can consider, gosh, you could live for less, work online, continue to make US dollars, and pay less money for everything. I'm not going to go into the finite details of everything that we spend per month living here, but it is a fraction, I can assure you, of what you're paying right now. And if I'm talking to a single lady or if I'm talking to a couple, it's a fraction for sure. And for a family, obviously you're gonna spend more, but your family could move to a softer life country, and build a whole life here for, again, a fraction of what you're paying in your home country, especially if you're coming from like US, Canada, or Western Europe. So the other thing is you could save money. You can get ahead. You could save money in 3 years to 5 years. How much could you pay off? Probably maybe everything. And you could also save money. What would that feel like? So you're healing yourself. You're having an incredibly rich cultural experience. You're getting out of debt. You're having a calmer life, so your nervous system is like not hijacked anymore and actually healing. And you're even saving money. And then you can simply choose to like stay abroad, or maybe go back to your origin country, your home country, and start anew, or experience, some other place. But this is what I want to present to you. I want you to start to percolate on this idea, even if you were just a little curious at the beginning of like, moving abroad, what, where, what? And I know there are many awesome move abroad coaches, and I know that there are many who specialize in going to Europe, and to specifically Western Europe, and that's great. I intentionally do not focus on those countries. I've spent a great deal of time in all of Western Europe, almost all of Western Europe, and it's great. It's just different. It is not what I would call the soft life. And you're also going to run into different things when it comes to certain kinds of visas and longer stay if you want to really plant yourself somewhere. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm simply saying it's different, and that's specifically why. So if you're watching right now and you want me to talk about someplace in Western Europe, I'm not your girl. This isn't, you can still learn a lot on the channel, but I actually focus on different countries, different regions, intentionally, because these are the places that I've spent time and that I know have what I call the soft life. It's just calmer, it's gentler, it's a bit softer. You can heal, and the lifestyle is that softer pace. It just, the rhythm, you can get into the rhythm right away. I mean, your first week here is just it's really gonna test you, because your nervous system is gonna soften, and you're gonna be like, maybe I could actually really feel my breath. What would that feel like for you? So I invite you to continue staying on this channel, watch more. I hope that this is helpful for you. I just want you to percolate on this. If you want to book any kind of a strategy call with me, I call it a clarity call. You're more than welcome to book a clarity call. Check the description box for any links that might be helpful. Make sure that you're following us on Instagram and obviously on this channel if you want to continue to learn more tips and tricks and ideas about how to move abroad, when to move abroad, the proven system that I have, and simply how to create a softer life, especially if you're, like I said, a gal, a lady, single, or if you're in a couple, or if you're a small family, or if you're a family and you want your kiddos to have a world school experience. I can help you do all of those. If you're also interested in investing in modern day Turkey, that's a whole specific area that we offer. My husband is a local Turkishman, and he and I then help you connect with the right people, the professionals, and the legal team that then can help you if you are looking to invest in a property. And that's a whole nother strategy that we can talk about in other videos. But go ahead and click on the description box and see if there's anything in there that appeals to you and that would be helpful for you. Booking a call. There's also, I have a quiz to kind of explore, like, what is this move abroad thing? Is this right for me? And I also have a free mini class, so you can check on that or any of the other links that I have in the description box. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.